You are listening to the Optic Blast broadcast, a hipster goblin media production.
Previously on the Optic Blast broadcast, the broadcast dudes crash landed into an epic battle between two fierce predators. We discussed our favorite Predator films and toys from the 80s and 90s, and we got to the chopper with some of the most memorable action heroes. Today we continue our deep dive on the beast they call Wolverine with the story of Old Man Logan. I'm your host, Dilly P, aka Bully McGuire, aka the Needle Mover, aka the Mover of Needles. And unfortunately today, if you haven't already noticed, my man, the Batman to my Robin, the Peter to my Miles, Blake Lockman is not joining us today, but that's okay. That's okay. I'm going solo today to discuss some pretty cool stuff coming up, and we're going to get into that. We're going to do an absolute deep dive, okay? So don't you worry. But before we do that, you already know what time it is. It is comic news time. So every time you tune into an episode of the Optic Blast broadcast, you can expect some of the latest and greatest news from beyond the comic verse. And today we got some pretty awesome things. Kicking it off with one of our favorite things is Marvel Unlimited on the show. We love it. We use it all the time. It's one of our favorite tools to get all the comics like in your hand instantly through your phone. It's great. It's an awesome thing that me and Blake love to use on this show. It's really helped us get into comics, or in his case, back into comics. With me being new, it's definitely helped me dive in and kind of sort through a world that is just so. It's flooded with so many different stories and series and runs and all these other things. And so Marvel Unlimited has everything that you need from the Marvel Universe, comics at least, in one app, and it's awesome. And right now they're running a promo for the upcoming, like in celebration of the upcoming film Deadpool and Wolverine, which is coming July 26th. So make sure you guys go check out that movie. Me and Blake will actually be doing a special episode. We're going to go live right after that movie comes out the next day. I believe it's going to be a Saturday. So we're going to go watch it Friday on the 26th when it comes out. But that Saturday, we are going to be planning on doing a live stream. I'm not sure if we decided on what time, but we'll be posting all that. Keep you guys updated on all of our social media. So be sure to jump on over there to get updates for our live stream coming up about Deadpool and Wolverine. But in celebration of that movie, Marvel Unlimited is running a promo right now. It is $3 and you get 3 months of Marvel Unlimited if you use code BESTIES whenever you buy your subscription to the Marvel Unlimited app. So make sure you guys go check that out. We're not sponsored by them. I mean, if they wanted to sponsor us, we'd definitely be open to it. But it's just a really cool app that we love to use. And so make sure you guys go take advantage of this promo that they're doing right now to get 3 months for only $3. Make sure you go check that out. But our next thing is actually something that's really, really exciting, especially for me. I love the Captain America movies. I enjoyed Falcon and the Winter Soldier when it came out, that show. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was great. And then, so with that being said, though, they are actually releasing, or they just released the trailer for the upcoming film Captain America: A Brave New World, which is going to be all about Sam Wilson and his basically his him becoming Captain America. It kind of talks about, at least in the trailer, it kind of hints at like he's going to be kind of struggling becoming his own Captain America, because literally in the trailer, which we'll get into who says this, but he's told that he isn't Steve Rogers. And so like I thought that was a really interesting thing in that trailer that I thought was pretty cool, that we're probably going to see him develop into his own version of Captain America that's separate from Steve Rogers, because he is a different person at the end of the day. But that's pretty cool. I have like a little synopsis thing that I'm going to pull up really quick and kind of read to you guys. Basically, it's going to talk about like what the plot essentially is going to be. So this is from Marvel, I believe, like actually from Marvel Studios, the synopsis. So it says, after meeting with newly elected U.S. presidents Thunderbolt Ross. So Ross is a main character in this movie, and he's going to essentially become the president. He is being elected as president, and he's also being played by Harrison Ford. And me being a big Star Wars guy, that has me super excited seeing Harrison Ford in the MCU. I'm very, very much looking forward to that. But Sam finds himself in the middle of an international incident. He must discover the reason behind a nefarious global plot before the true mastermind has the entire world seeing red. And that last line, if you guys haven't heard any sort of the plot rumors or any rumors about Harrison Ford's character as a whole, or if you don't know anything about that character, that last line is going to have the whole world seeing red. That's hinting at the reveal that we got at the very end of the trailer. It was like a split second kind of thing, but we got the reveal of Red Hulk in this movie. So Red Hulk is obviously going to be playing a prominent role in this film. That has me super excited. I'm very much looking forward to seeing this movie when it comes out. It will be releasing February 14th of next year, 2025. So make sure you guys go check out the trailer. Get hyped, because I'm hyped for it. I'm very much looking forward to it. I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a good movie. I'm honestly looking forward to all the MCU projects. Excuse me. All of the MCU projects that are coming up. I think we have kind of had, I think I've talked about it on the show before, where we've been kind of at a bit of a low point with the MCU. It's not quite as far gone as Star Wars, but I'm not going to get into that. When it comes to the MCU, there's directions and things that I don't necessarily agree with that they did, but I think it's salvageable, and I think Marvel's in a better place. They're at least going in a better direction, especially with, another thing that we talked a lot about on the show, X-Men 97, the success of that show, even though it's animated, so it's a little different than, the MCU stuff. I feel like that probably, or at least hopefully, has shown the people over at Marvel, like, hey, this is what the fans want. We want good stories. We want these amazing characters that we've grown up with, that we've looked up to our whole lives, that we want to see them on the big screen, not just in TV shows. But I'm very much looking forward to the future of Marvel in general, which leads me to something else that I'm also looking forward to, or at least something that kind of has to do with something that I'm looking forward to, and it's on the DC side of things, and that's James Gunn's DCU. Now, I believe last week I talked about the Superman set leaks and how excited I am for what James Gunn is going to be doing over there at DC and Warner Bros. I'm super, super looking forward to it. I think he's going to do amazing. I have all my trust in the Superman film. I think it's going to be great. With that being said, though, now I heard some rumors, and I don't know if they're true. I don't know if they're true at all. So this is literally just a rumor. The source, I don't know if it's even reliable. I wanted to bring this up, not necessarily because I didn't want to present it as news per se, but more so theorizing and just kind of thinking about how it would look with what I'm about to kind of present to you guys. So there was an article that I saw scrolling through, good old Facebook. I was just kind of scrolling through. So again, not reliable source whatsoever. But as I was scrolling, I saw this article that someone had posted, and it was talking about the Matt Reeves Batman universe potentially merging with James Gunn's DCU. Now, when James Gunn took over as the head creative guy or whatever at Warner Bros. Over their DC stuff, and he was putting together his DCU, he was essentially creating and taking things out of what he wanted in this universe. So as far as Matt Reeves' Batman goes, he pretty much said that he did not want that to be a part of his DCU. And that, I believe, as of right now, unless something else comes out. I still believe that to be true. I don't think that's going to change. And part of me doesn't really want that to change. I like that it's separated. I love everything that Matt Reeves is doing with Robert Pattinson's Batman. I love the movie. I very much look forward to the upcoming Penguin show that's coming out here soon. And I also very much look forward to the second Batman movie with Robert Pattinson in it and Matt Reeves, kind of overlooking that movie. I'm very excited for it. With that being said, depending on how this Superman movie goes, I wouldn't mind seeing Robert Pattinson and David Cornsweet's Superman kind of teaming up. I feel like they have, at least from what I could tell from what I've heard about this new Superman movie, I feel like they have a similar vibe to it almost. Although James Gunn is going to be more of that fun, more comic, like old school kind of comic, very like lighthearted, probably more of a your regular what you would come to expect from a Superman or even like a Spider-Man or any sort of comic really superhero. Versus someone who like Zack Snyder took that more darker, gritty approach with the Man of Steel and the rest of his universe. I don't think that's the direction that James Gunn is going to go. I also don't think that that is the direction James Gunn should go. I think he does a phenomenal job, especially looking at the Guardians movies with that more colorful, more bright, more lighthearted kind of style when it comes to making his comic book movies. But he can also get that darker, more gritty feel to it as seen in Guardians 3. So I feel like if they merge together, having that darker gritty, I feel like it would be a great contrast between Robert Pattinson's Batman and David Cornsweet's Superman. So I think it would be a great contrast on paper. I think if we got an actual film, I would be very interested to see how that plays out, how they would interact, how they would be directed behind the scenes with it, and how honestly how they would just kind of their on-screen chemistry, I guess you would say. Like it'd be very interesting to see that. I would love to see it. I think it'd be super awesome. But again, the other part of me just really wants that to stay separate. I love what they're doing with Robert Pattinson's Batman. So keeping that separate from anything else, I think is very important. And I'm glad that's the step that they decided to take. I just hope that continues to stay that way at the end of the day. Although I think it would be very interesting I wouldn't be upset if they decided to merge them. I don't think it would necessarily be my preference though. But if you are interested in that like kind of theory at all, or like if you would be interested in seeing them together and merging those universes, let us know in our comments down below or over on our Discord. Just let's talk about it. I'm super interested in to hear what you guys have to say about it. So yeah, let me know. You can talk to Blake about it too. I'm sure he had his thoughts probably on the thing. I know he loves he likes Robert Pattinson's Batman too. So I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. But yeah, with that being said, that's all I got really for comic news today. So it is boy time, and as you can see, I had a little bit of a wardrobe change, if you didn't notice, towards the end there, because it's a new day. But Blake, unfortunately, is still not with me today, but that's okay. We're going to continue with toy time anyway. Now, Blake is normally our toy guy, so I don't really have much of a collectible. I couldn't really find anything. I went out searching, didn't find much that I really cared for to share with Toy Time today, but that's okay because I found something that I think is pretty cool and that I just kind of wanted to share with you guys today instead of an actual collectible toy. It's actually a website that I found recently that keeps you updated on all things Marvel toys. So I'm going to screen share it with you guys here for our video watchers and listeners. If you can see on here on this website, basically it has a bunch of these news articles and updates on all the latest Marvel toys, from Funko Pop to Hot Toys, Marvel Legends, and everything in between. All these other ones that you can kind of see up here. It keeps you up to date on the latest toys from Marvel. I think this is a pretty cool website. That way you don't have to go scouring around the whole internet to figure out, what are the latest toys that are coming out, what's dropping. You can just come to this website, marveltoynews.com, and they have everything that you could possibly look for, like this new Rogue and Destiny X-Men exclusive 2-pack. This is an Amazon exclusive. I was kind of reading into it a little bit. Apparently Destiny is like Rogue's adopted mom, and also um, hold on, Nightcrawler. Yeah, Nightcrawler's actual mom, apparently, which I thought was pretty interesting, reading up about Destiny here. And I believe this is the first Destiny toy that we've gotten with her character. And also like some other things like a Venom movie, Venom little toy here. I don't really like a retro She-Hulk figure, like all these things. These are all Marvel Legends. They also got like hot toy articles, like this really cool one from Love and Thunder with Valkyrie and Thor. And I believe Jane is also a part of this. So if you haven't checked this website out, and go look it up. Like I said, it's marveltoynews.com. Go check them out and give them you know, you just hop on over there and see what they got. Yeah, I thought that was really cool, and I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys. If that's something you're interested in, staying up to date in some of the latest toys from Marvel, like I said, go over there, give their website a look, check out what all they got going on over there and some of those articles. It's really cool. It's really interesting, at least to me personally. But that's really all I got for toy time for you guys today. So we're going to take another break, and then I think we're going to get into the meat of this episode, which is all about the 2015 Old Man Logan series. It's a 5-issue series. So we'll get into that here in just a few minutes. So we're going to take a break, and then we will be back with Old Man Logan. Welcome back, guys. I am super pumped for this comic that we read this week. Like I said before we went on break, I said that it was a 5-issue series, so it's pretty short, but I believe it's like setting the stage for this Old Man Logan character. And from my knowledge, this is like the original Old Man Logan run, and there's like a 50-issue ongoing series currently that's kind of like almost like a spinoff, I believe, from this original run. But we're just going to be talking about the 5-issue run that was from 2015 today. And kind of to kick it off here, I'm going to give you all a bit of a background information, kind of like a synopsis sort of thing. Basically, this is after Secret Wars, and if you're like kind of new to Marvel, or if you maybe just aren't super familiar with the Secret Wars event that happened, essentially Doctor Doom is like in control of everything, and he creates this world slash alternate reality kind of thing called Battle World. I don't know all like the major details about it. I'm not super familiar with it. I haven't actually read it myself. It's just little bits and pieces that I've picked up over the years about the particular event. But essentially, this is where that kind of picks up off of. The story of Old Man Logan kind of picks up from the end of that. And I believe it's like a domain within this new reality that Doom has created called Battle World. So kind of like I said, the synopsis sort of here, I'm going to get it pulled up for you guys and kind of read it. Give me 1 second. And we will kind of give you guys kind of set the stage a little bit. So essentially, what this is kind of what it's talking about. So, Secret Wars. The multiverse was destroyed. The heroes of Earth 616 and Earth 1610 were powerless to save it. Now, all that remains is Battle World, and a massive patchwork planet composed of the fragments of worlds that no longer exist, maintained by the iron will of its god and master, Victor Von Doom. Each region is a domain unto itself. Among these domains is left decimated by a war between its heroes and villains. In this barren wasteland walks a shadow from the past, a man known as Old Man Logan. So that's kind of setting the stage where we are in this story. Like I said, it's post Secret Wars. It's in the alternate reality of Battle World. And so it kind of goes on to say that for 50 years, nobody knew what happened on the night of the heroes fell, and no one had seen nor heard, uh, seen hide nor hair of the man called Logan, only that he had sworn never to unleash his claws or rage ever again, a man concerned only with protecting his family. So at the time of this kind of post battle world or post Secret Wars world, Logan has a family, he has a wife, he has a kid. And so it says, but in truth, Logan was manipulated by Mysterio's illusions into killing all of his fellow X-Men, and that destroyed him. So I guess post before what we're going to read today, it kind of sets the stage with Logan being manipulated, like it said, by Mysterio's illusions, and he ends up killing all the X-Men, thinking that they were just bad guys that he was taking out, essentially. And then it goes on to say, but when the Hulk and his gang killed Logan's wife and children, Logan rose again. So when it says, but the Hulk and his gang, essentially in this battle world setting, in each of these domains, they have people that kind of roll over and uh, roll over these domains, and essentially they are variants, I believe, that of the same people. So it's like Hulk variants of like a Hulk clan, I believe is what the actual name is. Like the Hulk clan is who killed Logan's wife and child at this point. So it says he unleashing his claws, he massacred the Hulk family, taking their sole surviving baby as his own. He swore never to turn his back on his duties as a hero and set off to make the world right. So that kind of sets the stage where we're at in the beginning of the story. I actually thought when I was going into this, I thought the story was going to be honestly what that synopsis was him uh, kind of going off and being a peaceful Logan, which is something that we rarely see. I talked a lot about that last week on the show, but this I feel like it kind of went a little bit of a different direction than I was expecting. I was expecting to get the story of um, his wife and children and the Hulk clan coming in. And then obviously him getting revenge on that. But I'm assuming, or at least, or I guess I know, this is actually after all of that happens. So we kind of open up the first issue with we see this table of people. They're playing poker, it looks like, and they're all dressed up as previous Marvel heroes that were that at least used to be alive in the universe, and such as like Daredevil and Iron Man and the Gladiator, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, Logan just comes in and just wrecks shop about like on everybody. Like ends up coming in and he's got the claws out and he just gives them the business, right? And so he kind of I I'm assuming he seems like he's almost upset because these guys are wearing all of these outfits that represented previous heroes that have died within his world. And so then a kid shows up and he's like, "Oh, you killed my dad." Apparently, his dad was the Gladiator, and basically, like this kid's like swears that he's going to grow up and kill Logan, and then Logan pretty much is. He ends up saving some girls, some I'm assuming a few women that were like kidnapped or something in some sort of way, and he pretty much saves them. Ends up allowing them to be free, and then he kind of tells everybody that's like in this little town here, like he's like, y'all better get it together or I'm gonna come back here and burn the whole place down. So, very Wolverine, very brash. So like that whole scene was pretty cool. That was just kind of opening up. I feel like kind of setting the stage of and getting to know who this Logan is and where he's at. He's clearly angry. He wants revenge. And like I said, like it kind of said in the beginning, when I read that little opening, it just kind of was like he is dead set on being a hero and saving people and not like he's unleashed like he's unleashed his claws. He's ready to go and he wants to protect everybody that he can. And it doesn't seem like he's really holding back at all with that. So we kind of see that, and then he ends up actually just kind of going home. And on his way home, he finds what seems to be and ends up being confirmed. When I first saw it, I was like, man, that kind of looks like Ultron. It was actually a head of an Ultron bot. I'm assuming it was some variant of Ultron in some way. And so he comes home where he has this newborn Hulk child that he kind of took from the Hulk clan after they had killed his family. And he comes back to his child, and he has someone named Danielle kind of watching over her, and he acknowledges during this time that she takes very good care of him, or at least the kid that they have now, and he kind of gives her this Ultron helmet, and he's like, I don't know where this head came from, but we got to figure it out. So he kind of ends up leaving after that, and he goes on a mission to figure out where this Ultron head came from, where the rest of the body is, or the rest of the robot is, however you want to look at it. And so little does he know this is going to send him on a interesting, mind-bending adventure throughout the rest of this story. So, yeah, so it was interesting, kind of open up. Like I said, he was looking for the rest of Ultron's body, and so as he's kind of searching, we see he's in Nevada, and so he's kind of searching through. I believe he's like actually in Las Vegas, kind of like this war-torn apocalyptic style Las Vegas, and we get this really cool panel, which I'll probably kind of show you guys here on my phone that I have it pulled up here. You can kind of see like that Thor hammer, and then you see all like the little toys of all the heroes that have died. And so I thought that was pretty cool. You can tell like, he's almost like a sole survivor to all of these other heroes. And so as he's searching for this Ultron body, he ends up coming across Emma Frost. So Emma Frost comes in, and they're kind of having this back and forth conversation. And essentially she's like mentioning like the Hulk clan. She's mentioning the Punisher clan, Thor, the Thors was also mentioned. So essentially like each of those are the clans. So like when I was talking about the Hulk clan, you got the Thors, which is multiple variants of Thor, and then also Punishers, which is multiple variants of the Punisher. Well, it ends up as they're having this conversation, you see like Emma Frost actually was attacked by the Punisher clan, and she's bleeding out. So the whole time they're having this conversation, she's in Logan's mind, making him think that she's okay, because Emma Frost is a telepath. She's a omega level telepath, and so she's in his head, making him think that she's fine, but in reality, she was actually bleeding out. And so eventually, she kind of lets him see that she is bleeding out, and then what we believe here, she ends up actually dying. And so he kind of goes out of there. He leaves where they were at, kind of talking this almost like it looked like some sort of apartment building kind of thing that was half torn down. So as he's leaving, he kind of just almost like he's riding off into the sunset, it looks like. And he eventually gets to this wall, and he's like, okay, I got to climb over this wall. And so this wall is really where everything when I kind of mentioned earlier when I started talking about the mind bending things in this story. Like this is where it really all starts to come together here. So that ends the first issue. We see, like I said, Logan basically riding off into the sunset, and he is climbing up this wall now and ends up making it over. And so, as we get into issue 2, he makes it to the top of this wall and he climbs over it. And as soon as he makes it up there, he's approached by a Thor, or at least a variant of Thor. I believe this is a female variant of Thor. And so, basically, she's like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, you're not supposed to be here." And she ends up actually striking Logan with a lightning bolt, and he like it tears all of his skin off. You can see on part of the panel where like you can see that skeleton of Logan as his skin is just kind of peeling off, and he ends up flying back into a jungle like area, which honestly I thought it was really cool with last week us reading Predator versus Wolverine and that jungle uh, kind of area, like as that he ends up falling in. It just kind of gave me Predator vibes, like that original movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, and I thought that was really cool. Even though that has nothing to do with Predator, I just thought it just kind of reminded me of that. So he ends up falling into this jungle looking area. All of his clothes and his skin is just completely burned off, but his skin is kind of starting to heal back. And so he ends up actually getting approached by a tiger, and then he like kills the tiger or whatever. And then we see Sabretooth just kind of emerge from out of nowhere. And so he's like getting approached by Sabretooth, and he just had to fend off a tiger after getting struck by lightning. So I thought this was a cool sequence of events that he just wasn't like everything was just coming straight at him and he wasn't getting a break at all. So um once Sabretooth kind of comes out, all of a sudden like a storm, I believe this Thor ends up kind of striking Sabretooth with lightning, or sorry, no. It wasn't the Thor. It was a lightning strike came down, hit Sabretooth. Sorry, and it was actually Storm. And it was a whole team of X-Men that come out and kind of approach Logan. And so he ends up kind of talking to them for a minute. And then all of a sudden he like passes out. He just randomly passes out and he wakes up. And then again, he is approached by Emma Frost, and he's like in this, it looks like a dojo kind of looking area, or like some sort of Japanese architecture wherever he is. And so him and Emma Frost start talking again. And they're like talking about like how his family was killed before. They mentioned kind of what happened with him and Mysterio kind of manipulating him and killing the X-Men. And then he pretty much like is questioning like what's real at this point. He's like, man, is this real? Have you been messing with me the whole time? What's going on here? So I thought that was like I said, that was really when once he crossed that wall, all this stuff started happening. And he's already starting to question what's real, what's not. He thinks Emma is kind of messing with his mind the whole time. And so suddenly, like this, another explosion happens, and it's like Sabretooth and his goons are kind of like coming in and attacking them. But before that, sorry, I missed one part. He actually ends up meeting the rest of the X-Men team. He kind of talks for him for a second. They're all like, man, this Logan's really old. Like they're questioning because I believe in this universe, Logan had died at this point, and he's like, man, they're all questioning like he looks just like him. Like how is he alive? How is he old? Because Wolverine doesn't really age. So he's like, oh man, what's happening here? And then that explosion comes in, and it's Sabretooth and his goons, and Wolverine ends up getting tossed completely away from the building, and he ends up kind of, I don't think he blacks out at this point, but once he gets tossed from the building, all of a sudden it kicks over to this panel, and we see Apocalypse kind of come in, as you can kind of see right there. I'm kind of blocking Logan because he doesn't have any clothes on, so we're trying to keep it family friendly here. But we see Apocalypse and approaching him, and that's the last panel of this issue. So an interesting ending, I think, for sure. And kind of leaves you on your toes there. I was like, man, what's going on here? Like Apocalypse just comes out of nowhere after all this is happening, which I thought was crazy. So, but like I said, that's the end of issue 2. So going into issue 3, it kind of picks up right where it kind of left off on issue 2, and it kind of has this really cool panel that kind of shows uh, Apocalypse also being confused. He's like, why is he old? Like, what's happening? Why is he here? He's not sure what's going on with this old man, version of Logan here. And so then the Thor comes back in, and the Thor and Apocalypse are like going having this back and forth kind of confrontation thing, talking about Doom, talking about how they need to like report it. The fact that Logan was here. They're trying to figure out what to do with him. And so I'm assuming the Thor sounded like it was allied with Doom in some way, and obviously holding whatever laws that he, as essentially God in this domain or in this universe, in this reality, Doom is God, and so she is like doing his will. And so she's like, I need to report it. And Apocalypse is like, no, like this isn't right. Like I'm gonna deal with it. And they ended up getting like this big huge fight, and it's a whole thing. They're fighting back and forth, and Logan just kind of escapes, and he ends up running into this girl named Tabitha. They kind of talked for a minute. I'm not really sure who Tabitha is, but they just kind of, like I said, they talked for a minute, and then all of a sudden the Thor finds Logan, and I mean, she gives him the absolute business. She's like flying him into the air, electrocuting him, all this other stuff, and all of a sudden he's falling and falling and falling, and lands in this in the middle of this city somewhere. And so as he lands, he ends up actually blacking out, and so like he doesn't know, or he blacks out, and suddenly a few moments later he kind of wakes up, and he hears people talking over him, and he wakes up in this kind of futuristic style building looking thing, and it's actually Iron Man and Rhodey are over there talking about him, and like they're like, oh man, like what is he doing here? He's like just kind of running, making his quirky jokes. He mentions the adamantium. He's like, man, can I have some of that adamantium? Which I thought was pretty funny too. But basically, so Logan wakes up and he's like, man, where am I? And Iron Man's like, you're actually in Tech Technopolis, I think is how you say it. And then it shows like this really cool um, panel of Logan kind of looking out in this city, and you see all these Iron Man suits kind of flying around. So I'm assuming these are different variants of Iron Man, from my understanding. And so this is Iron Man's domain where all the Iron Man kind of live in this city. And so, as Iron Man and Rhodey are kind of like talking, Logan notices that they keep saying Lord Doom, like Lord Doom, Lord Doom. And so Logan's like, what's going on with this Lord Doom? And so they kind of talk about that for a second, and he explains, I guess, to Logan about who Doom is. And like I said, he's kind of like essentially the god of this reality. And so eventually Iron Man also tells him that in this domain of Iron Man's, that there's a deadly tech virus going around that Logan is actually healing from. So his body at this point is constantly healing. And so Iron Man is also having a hard time breathing as well because of this virus that's in the air. And so Iron Man keeps mentioning that Logan has left his domain, like he left his domain. And so Logan's like, okay, well, I want to talk to Doom. And Iron Man's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. He's trying to like talk him out of that. And so Logan is kind of starts talking to Iron Man. He's like, do you remember me? Do you know who I am? Do you remember the X-Men? All this other stuff. And Iron Man like has no idea what he's talking about. He's like, what are the X-Men? Like, I have no idea like who you are. And so I thought that was really interesting. I'm assuming this is like a uh, this Iron Man and his reality from the past, or his past reality, or whatever variant he is, did not have the X-Men. And then like you hear Rhodey kind of chime in, and he's like, "Oh, this is from one of those mutant domains." So I thought that was pretty interesting. So Rhodey knows, kind of at least has an idea of who he is, but Iron Man does not. So Iron Man is like, or sorry, Logan. Logan decides, he's like, I'm gonna fight my way out. I need to get out of here. So he starts, fighting Iron Man and Rhodey, and they're like, nah, this ain't happening. And then they end up like pretty much just knocking him straight out, and he blacks out again. And this time when he wakes up in what I thought was one of the coolest parts of this whole story. And it's the last panel of this issue 3. He wakes up to this really cool looking zombie version of all these Venom characters, and that really awesome zombie Doc Ock. I thought that was really awesome seeing him. I thought that was super cool. Really cool panel. Looks awesome. But essentially, he ended up in the what they're calling the Deadlands, and so that's like the last panel that we see. Like I said, in this issue. So then moving on to issue 4. Or sorry, issue 4. Yeah, issue 4. So then it just picks up right where it left off from the previous one, and we get this another really cool panel of Logan just fending off all these zombies, all these different zombie variants of different villains. It's I don't know if they're all from Spider-Man, but I even seen like Green Goblin. A lot of them were from Spider-Man. There was like Venom variants, Doc Ock, and I even seen Green Goblin in there on one of them. So I thought that was really cool seeing those panels, and like he's just giving them the business, like knocking everybody off of them. And so he's kind of running away. He's like climbing all these mountains, and then we see like uh, this part where he's kind of remembering his family as he's running away, remembering his wife and remembering his kid. And he's like, man, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do to get out of here. Like, this is crazy. And then he ends up running into this cave where he actually ends up meeting She-Hulk. So him and She-Hulk kind of have this conversation. They're kind of talking about, really just about escaping. Like, Logan's really dead set on escaping this place because he's like, man, I want to get back to my family. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's going on, what's happening, blah 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 blah. So he's like, telling Jennifer like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. And she's like, no, like there's no way. I've tried every way possible. And Logan, I thought, said something that I thought was really cool. He's like, could you not just jump out of here? Like I've seen Hulks jump states. So I thought that was really cool. Like to like a Hulk jumping a complete state, like a whole entire that's really far. So he's like, "Can you not just jump out of here?" And she's like, "Nah, it ain't that simple. I don't know what. Like I've tried everything. There's not really anything that we can do. So it's almost impossible." And then Logan is like, "Okay, well if you can't jump out of here, then why don't you throw me out?" He's like, "Just launch me out of here, out of this domain." And so she's like, "I don't know if that's gonna work. I don't know, like I don't know." And so then they end up actually getting attacked by this mob of zombies, kind of coming in at him. So they're just fending off all the zombies, and he's like, "Look, you gotta throw me. So just go for it." And so basically, like, because they end up getting overwhelmed, and they end up having to kind of retreat. And so she picks him up on his shoulders, and they're running away, and he's like, "You gotta throw me, you gotta throw." And so she just launches Logan. He just goes flying, and all of a sudden he blacks out again. And so that was another, like, it's really interesting. It seems like every time he blacks out, he wakes up in some new reality almost. So I don't know. I don't really know. It's kind of confusing, kind of interesting trying to figure out how, like, where's he going to wake up next? Or, is the blackouts causing him to, is that what is causing him to wake up in a different reality? All these different questions and things were kind of floating through my mind as I was reading all of this. But it was really cool. Um, it was definitely a very mind bending experience as I was reading these. But he ends up actually crashing into a giant building in the middle of this city. And so the first thing he notices, though, whenever he wakes up in this building, he's like, "Man, the air here is breathable. Like I can actually breathe without having to um, use my healing factor to keep me alive." And so that was really interesting. And it just kind of ends with this cityscape. And it looks like a fairly normal city. It doesn't look like it's run down. It doesn't look like he is in a zombie deadland or in the middle of a desert somewhere. Like it looks like a decent sized city, or like even like a super techie city. It doesn't even look like, it just looks like a normal New York City. And so pretty much that's the end of the fourth issue. And so we kind of go into the fifth one, and he wakes up in this big city, and he's just again kind of reminiscing on his family, on his past. He's like questioning, what's real? Is this real? Is that real? Am I going insane? He can't remember anything that happened in his past. He can't remember anything like what is again, really just what's real. Like he's just questioning. He doesn't know if he's still having his mind twisted by Emma Frost. He doesn't know what's going on. So he kind of realizes, man, like that Ultron head. We're going to look for the rest of that Ultron and climbing the wall. I probably shouldn't have done it, but that's where this all started. So he's kind of walking around, like I said, a fairly normal looking city, and he ends up actually running into again Emma Frost, but also with her is a young Jean Grey, and so they kind of are talking to him. They're like, they mentioned that the Logan of their reality died just the day before. They mentioned that it looks so much older and he looks different, and they're not sure where he came from or how he got there. So then they're like, you know what we should do? We should give you a reunion. Like that's literally what she says, because they're reading his mind the whole time, trying to figure out, who he is and where he came from, and they're seeing everything that he has seen up to this point, versus and also on top of him killing all the X-Men and his wife and kid dying and all of that stuff, like they're pulling from his mind, and they're trying to figure out all the pieces and put everything together, and they can't even figure it out. But they're like, you know what? You clearly have a lot of shame, a lot of regret from killing all these X-Men in your reality. We're going to bring you to our X-Men in this reality. So they bring him, and you see this group of X-Men, and of course, they're also very confused once they see them, because they're like, man, our Logan just died. Now this much older one just randomly shows up the next day. This is weird. And so the whole time they're like, oh, he looks so different. He looks so old and blah, blah, blah. And like all this other stuff, like all these little comments that each of these X-Men are making. He is just sitting there eating. They give him food and he's just eating away like nothing. Like this is all completely normal to him. But at the same time, like he doesn't know if it's real or not, but it's almost like he's accepted that he doesn't know if it's real. He's like, I'm just gonna eat. I'm just gonna be here, which I thought that was pretty funny, a little interesting thing that they did at that part. And basically, they're like, you know what? We have another idea. We're gonna take him to see uh, what is Logan's son in this reality. So they bring him to Logan's son, or Wolverine's son in this reality. It's not actually Old Man Logan's son. It's just the reality that he's in. It's Logan's son. I don't know if that makes any sense. It was a little uh, confusing to me, but so he takes him to his son, and they kind of have like a little father son reunion thing. The son's like, man, he looks just like my dad. This is crazy. And then it kind of has this really cool panel after that interaction of one of my favorite, I think, panels out of all this, or this full page thing out of all this whole entire story, was all these. It's almost like a tree of memories that this old man Logan has, and it's all. I think it looks super cool. This is one of my favorite ones through the whole series. Just him remembering everything, and you can see like he's crying. He's just remembering all these different things that have happened to him. Um, it's kind of sad, but I thought it was really cool. So he Emma Frost ends up going back into his mind and kind of pulls him into this uh it's just to where it's just her and him talking essentially. And so they kind of start discussing Doom. They're talking about um how there needs to be a revolution of sorts, and Emma is saying like, Logan, you need to be the leader of this, because you are able to experience all these different realities. Like the fact that this is possible for you to be, because they're like, you're somehow, some way, he is from the future, but also from the past, and he has all these different realities in his head, and he has access to all these different domains within the battle world. Um, she's like, you have to be the one to lead it because there's something going on here. So, from my understanding, all these people think this is their real reality that Doom has created. And they believe, like I said, Doom to be God in this reality. And so he has manipulated them to think that their reality is normal. Like there's nothing abnormal about it. Like this is normal everyday life. This is how it's supposed to be. And I think Logan, the fact that he is able to access, or at least Old Man Logan, the fact that he's able to access all these different domains, and he's able to, um, you know, experience all these different things. Like he is proof that something isn't right with their reality. Like it's not the way it's supposed to be or the way that it was meant to be. And so she's like, you have to be the one to lead it. And so pretty much they end up, we see this another really cool panel. There's a lot of like really awesome artwork throughout this whole series. Like it's really cool. I love seeing all of it. But like you see Logan leading this giant group of so many Marvel heroes. You see Spider-Man in there. You see Captain America. You see Daredevil. You see different variants of Wolverine, different Hulks, different Fantastic Four members, Luke Cage, Human Torch. Like so many cool Marvel characters that we all know and love that are just kind of rallying behind him in this. And I don't think that is necessarily a thing that happened. That's just kind of like a picture that Emma is giving him in his mind of him being a leader of this revolution against Doom. And then we see this another really cool page where it's just Doom and like I don't know. I just think it's really cool. So yeah, Doom is an awesome character. So we just kind of see that, and pretty much after that, like they have that whole thing where Emma's telling him like you have to fight, you have to lead these people, and so it all ends up actually kind of fading. It kind of fades out to white this time instead of black. Normally it's black, but this time it fades out to white, um, and then he kind of wakes up, and so he ends up waking up in the middle of this alley, and a lady is getting mugged by two guys right in front of him, and he's like, well, obviously he needs to protect the lady. So he kind of wakes up and he confronts them. He's like, "Hey, y'all ain't gonna do this. Hold on now." So one of the guys is like, "Man, I know who that is. He's one of those X-Men or something." And so they end up running away. The lady is like, "Oh, thank you for saving me," and all that. And so he realizes, he kind of takes a minute. He's like, "Man, where am I at? What am I doing?" And he just kind of sniffs the air, and he's like, "I know that smell." And it's New York. So it kind of ends with him back in New York, a normal what I believe to be a normal reality, but it's still Doom is still obviously God of this reality. It's still Battle World. It's but a fairly normal looking New York. But he wakes up with this feeling of he's been given a second chance, and he is ready to kind of take the lead in this revolution against Doom. And so, unfortunately, that's kind of where it ends. I'm really interested to see what happens after this. But I feel like for the purpose of this story, it's a kind of a beautiful ending because it's like you see Logan, who's done all these bad things, and he regret all these regrets, and he is kind of coming out with a second chance. This version of him, especially after killing all the X-Men and his wife and family being killed and all these things, on top of, I mean, the regular stuff that Wolverine has to deal with on a daily basis. If you're not, if you're not familiar with the character, like Wolverine's been through a lot, man, and so it's good to see like he finally wakes up with this newfound confidence and feeling of a second chance to do things right this time. And so it's a great ending, a really great story, in my opinion. I thought it was awesome. Definitely recommend it. If you haven't checked out this story, for sure, go check it out. Like I said, Marvel Unlimited is running their 3 for 3, $3 for 3 months sale. Use code BESTIES for that. I talked a little bit about that earlier in the show. Go use that and read this story. It's great. They also have a ongoing spinoff series kind of thing that's it's like 50 issues long. It's pretty long. But definitely go check that out as well. I probably will go check that out because I'm assuming it'll leave off at the end from where this left off. I'm hoping, at least, because I really, really want more of this story, and so I'm sure me and Blake will definitely be checking that out in the future. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much going to do it today for Old Man Logan. I appreciate you guys kind of tuning in and listening to just me talk today. I know Blake wasn't here. He's definitely missed this week. But I appreciate you guys kind of watching and listening. Next week, we're going to be continuing on our little hype train that we got for Deadpool and Wolverine that's coming out July 26th. So what we wanted to do, me and Blake kind of sat down and talked. We were like, what do we want to do for the hype of this movie? We really want to kind of do almost like a deep dive on these characters. What can we do? So this week we chose Wolverine, and also kind of last week we touched on Wolverine. It wasn't necessarily a Wolverine dedicated story, but it involved him with the Predator. This week we wanted something that is a little bit kind of inspired a little bit, not only Deadpool and Wolverine, but also the Logan movie, if you haven't seen that. So that's why we chose this story. We felt it was still fairly relevant to the character and where he's at in the MCU and what they will be doing with him in the future. And so next week, make sure you tune in because we're going to be doing Deadpool next week. So I'm not 100% sure what exact story we're going to be reading, but we're going to be doing a Deadpool episode next week. So make sure you tune in for that. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good episode. Everybody's favorite Merc. So, I mean, definitely tune in. Be on the lookout for this episode when it drops. Should be coming at you guys here soon. Again, missed Blake this week, but hopefully you guys are okay just listening to me talk for a little bit. Yeah, but that's going to do it for Optic Blast this week. I appreciate you guys for tuning in and listening, and we will see you guys in the next one.